And we're off. As we're checking our phones, getting ready for the show, Bruce Badgley, Darryl Daniel. Wow, fresh set of downs. I'm sitting there looking at the thing there. It's October 6th. I mean, has this season flew by or what?
Right. I mean, the season has flown by, but the thing is, the best part about it is that the kids get to have the experience of having the fans back again, playing in front of a crowd, and I think that's made a big difference for a lot of these programs.
We're live here in the Sky Bar again. It's actually pretty warm out here tonight.
Nice, yeah.
I mean, this might get a little bit, our nice little Brute swag gear here from Fresh Set of Downs. But, boy, thanks to our sponsors, GetRecruitedConsulting.com, Andrew Cohen, and Brute Athletic, sponsoring our Players of the Game Award, not only here at Fresh Set of Downs, but also in the WPIAA Blitz Show. And then also in Pre-Snap Look, which is my District 12, District 1 show as well. So I'm getting the full gamut of Pennsylvania football this year, But obviously my home and, here is in District 3. And, we've got a very interesting scenario right now. I mean, halfway through the season, you've got really, there are not many teams on the fence. There's a lot of teams that are playing for the playoffs. Right. And then there's a good group of teams that are, just playing it out.
Right,
so for the teams that are really working for the playoffs, what are they doing right now at this juncture of the season?
I think the biggest thing is make sure you're healthy, because at this point of the season, everybody should be in good shape. So now you got to kind of manage the weeks, because you got to be careful with injuries. You want to try to get your guys in reps, but you don't want to overdo anything. So you got to find that fine line of balance of getting the reps in, getting the work in, and also protecting your players. So that's the biggest point at this time, because again, you want to get down. You don't want to get to week 9 or 10 where you need this game to maybe make the playoffs or win the section or win the conference, and then now you have all these guys hurt because you didn't manage that through the season.
Yeah, and about this time of year, obviously by, week 6, you've talked before about the fact that, teams pretty much have their identity right now.
Right.
That's really good for the coaches too, I would guess, because they can dictate kind of the workload that they see now on the trends that they're seeing of what they do need work with or what they don't need work with, right?
Absolutely. And then too, each week as you're game planning, you see the teams that you're going up against. So you don't need to open up your entire playbook. So you just say, we're going to stay in our sledge package or our 2 receiver package or a 3 receiver package and work everything from there, because we'll be able to get everything done. Because the thing is, you want to make it to where each team, I think when they pass around the huddle information, I think they only have to give out 2 or 3 games. So you want to be careful of how much information you put out there, especially as you get ready for the playoffs and stuff like that.
Well, and let's be real, okay? There's so many games that are out there on YouTube now. Does that really matter that they have to pass the huddle film around?
Well, I mean, now not anymore, because technology-wise, I mean, if you want something, you can go out there and find it. So, but again, these coaches now understand that, and they're smart with their play calling, and they always have something in that package. Really good teams that are able to make deep runs into the playoffs always have something that you haven't seen, or they have variations off of what they already do.
So if you're a team here that has had a really difficult start, who's quite honestly playing for the future. I mean, a lot of coaches are realistic there. I mean, if you're one of those coaches, and obviously we talked about the life lessons of football, what are some of the life lessons of football that should be reinforced by coaches for some of these teams that have had kind of a tough season?
I think the biggest message is always about finishing. Finishing what you're doing. If you start something, finish something. Because again, once you get into life is not easy. So you got to go through these tough times, because if you are able to make it through these tough times and you survive, you got to stay together as a team, you build that camaraderie, good things will come out of that. Because again, sometimes, unfortunately, there's some situation where it's not always, or fortunately, it's not always about winning and losing. It's about what you learn in that process. So again, staying positive, because some of these teams, they understand who they are and what they are. So again, let's go out there and have fun. Let's do the best we can do. So when you look at the film, you can say, well, did I leave all the effort out there? Did I do the best I could do? And if the answer is yes, then you can live with that. But if you took plays off, you're being lazy, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, that makes it a little bit harder. So you gotta, the biggest thing I've always talked to my kids about is, you gotta be responsible. You gotta take action, responsibility for your actions. a lot of kids don't want to do that. Like, take responsibility. I mean, did you do everything you're supposed to do? If the answer is yes, then you can feel good about the outcome.
Yeah, there's that, that great line from Hoosiers is that, I mean, if you give, your effort and concentration,
Right.
that regardless of what's up on the scoreboard, that the coach is going to think that they're winners. And that's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right. And speaking of winners, we had some great games, looking back at, last week there. And obviously, I think the biggest game in the state was involving a District 3 team where Wyomissing ended so many streaks for, Southern Columbia, like on their turf. I mean, they came out with a 41-21 win. I mean, talk a little bit about, what that means for Weill, and talk a little bit about what that's got to mean for Southern Columbia, too.
Well, I think going into the game, we both knew that. I think this was a very good Weill team. They've been dominant all year. They're loaded. They have guys. They can plug and play. They move pieces around, and they put guys in that everybody gets the job done. So, like, I wasn't surprised by this outcome. I actually had the score being 34-20. So, like,
wow.
I'm not surprised by the outcome because I think this is a very good Weill team, a very good disciplined team. And the thing that's really cool about this Wyomissing team is that those guys every single week, they literally do not look ahead. They don't. So the week, whoever they're playing this week, let's go out there and dominate this team. All right, who do we have next week? I don't know. Let's look at the schedule. Oh, let's go out there and dominate this team. So I think if you have that mentality and you have good leadership on that team, that will take you so far into this playoffs because, again, I'm sure they hear people, oh, you guys are going to win the district. You guys are going to stay. They don't want to hear any of that because anything can happen week to week. So they're prepared every single week. And I think for Southern Columbia, I actually was talking to someone last night about it. I don't think anything changes for them. They lost to a very good Wyomissing team. I think they're still in a position to still be successful. I still think they're going to make a run for the district championship. I still think they'll have a run in state playoffs, and they may still end up in a state championship. So I don't think anything changes for them. They just ran into a very good Wyomissing team, and I just think that's how simple it is.
Yeah, the amazing thing is that both of those programs, with such distinguished coaches, with long-term coaching staffs, so many similarities. And it was determined out on the field, which was great. It was a nice night for football. Good weather, and there were some big plays. A lot of big plays in the game. But just a great game. I think it sets the tone for both teams for the rest of the year. Now they can turn that page, and now they can look and focus on the task at hand, which is Hershey, right?
And again, especially for Wyomissing, now the thing is, all right, continue to be consistent, continue to stay healthy, and start getting those younger guys involved in the games. Again, no disrespect to any of the teams they're playing, but they want to get up, go out there, handle their business, get the other guys involved, so that way they can be able to stay healthy as they go into that playoff run.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, the game that I did, Wilson, they really, obviously in my mind, played their best game of the year. They came out and dominated Penn Manor and won 40-6. Now that only got them to the 500 mark, and it was funny after the game. I'm talking to my buddy Joe Mays, and he's Mr. Bracketology when it comes to District 3 and the power rankings. And he's saying Wilson, to make sure that they get in the playoffs, is looking like they've got to get to 7-3, which means they've got to win the rest of their games. What about Wilson?
Well, going into this game, we knew that was going to be a tough task for Penn Manor because everybody keeps saying Wilson is down, but then Jaden didn't play the last two games. They had to move some people around. They had some guys banged up. So you always have to be careful because at the end of the day, it's still Wilson. It's still a deep program where they have lots of kids where they can almost two platoons. So you always have to be careful when they're playing because they're a program that knows how to win, and they have dominated Section 1 for a very long time. So, but we knew that was a good Penn Manor team. But going into it, Wilson is still a very good team. The teams that they lost to very good teams. So it's not like they're just playing horrible. They look good. They just lost to very good teams. They were close games. So I think having everybody back for this Penn Manor game, they've heard all the noise. I'm sure they in the paper how they're not the same team. They probably won't make the playoffs. Doms is a very smart coach. Palm is good. They have a great defensive coach. So those guys are ready to play, and I think that's how it's going to be the rest of the season. So they're going to be a tough out, like, you know.
And their schedule's favorable too. I mean, they're at Hempfield, but then they've got Manheim Township at home.
Right. So I mean, again, that's a very good Hempfield team, you know, and that's with a very good defense and a very good quarterback. Manheim Township is a team that I think people are taking for granted because they are so young, but they are a very, very good football team. They have a favorable schedule, but I don't think it's easy at all because, again, Hempfield's going to be a tough out, and so will Township.
Yeah, they still got to go out and prove it out on the field. Who proved it out on the field again was Shippensburg. They went into Mechanicsburg and put a hurting on them, 27-7.
Yeah, I thought that game would be a little bit closer. I mean, we're not surprised because we both knew we thought Shippensburg probably would come out of that game victorious, but I thought Mechanicsburg was a little bit better team. But Shippensburg is doing what they do, like I said, every single year. They make it to the playoffs 10-0, 9-1, and they look like they're about to probably do that again. Yeah,
I mean, they are definitely on their way. William Penn beat Dallastown. I mean, two good teams there. I'll be honest with you, I know Coach Stoner there at William Penn, man, he's banging the drum. He's got a good football team, and he wants people to take notice. What do you think about a coach like that who's saying, hey, look, take a look at us, we're good?
Yeah, but you have to do that because, again, he knows, and like the respect from York has been low for so long. So now they're slowly starting to come up. And again, you know, obviously they had the loss against Governor Mifflin, which is a team that everybody across the state knows. But since then, they beat a Coatesville team. They beat a very good Dallastown team.
Yeah.
So their next step is they got to get by Central York. So everything he's saying is true. I mean, he's beating that drum and he wants the recognition, but you still have to have that signature win.
Do you do that as a coach as much for your team to create the bravado as anything?
I mean, you have to because the team's going to follow Lear. If he's like, you know, I mean, but he's out there, no, we're the best team in the state. You got to feel that. It's like, all right, we had that slip-up versus Governor Mifflin, and the kids got to believe, that was
the first game as well. You know, I mean, it's not like a mid-season conference matchup where they get waxed. I mean, first game of the year. I mean, understandable because it's against Mifflin, right?
Right. I mean, they too also have a favorable schedule, but the game, that Central York game, is going to be the one that decides if they are who they say they are and who he wants them to be. Right. So, I mean, we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I have to prove it on the field. Don't look now, but Central Dauphin beat State College pretty handily, 42-21.
Right, but again, we already said coming into it, they have to run the table. They have to run the table with only 8 teams going in 6A. They have to run the table, and again, they got a loaded schedule coming up. You know, like Coach was talking about last night. You know, Lance was saying every single week you got to come to play in the Mid-Penn. So they have to come to play. They got to be ready to play because they have to run that table. And if they run the table, they might end up with a number 1 seed. Anything can happen because of the competition. But it's going to be a tough task. But again, they're off to a good start.
Well, and you know, you're just pointing about the fact that we had a great conversation, and you can check that out on our FSOD Coaches Corner, which is out on YouTube as well. Lance Dean, totally impressive guy. I'll be honest with you, it was the first time that I met Lance. Totally impressed with him. Totally impressed. I think from afar, everybody's kind of impressed with what the program is doing over there. But oh my gosh, just a great thing going on there at CD East. And definitely check out that. It's FSOD Coaches Corner. It's out there on YouTube. You can go to our SSPN page on easternpafootball.com. You can see all of the shows that we do here on SSP Network. And we talked about the fact that you can throw out the records when rivalries come, and that was absolutely the case with Warwick and Manheim Central, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, we knew going to Jack Reed, you know, with his ability to throw the ball and Warwick's ability to play. They're very athletic around in their skill positions, and then they have a good offensive line, and a good defensive line, and they just went toe-to-toe with Manheim Central. And again, like that, you know, turnovers make a big difference. So, you know, I know Manheim Central was kicking themselves because they really wanted to have that game, knowing what's down the road as far as the playoff. Because having a number 1 seed in the 5A is going to be huge. So I know they're upset. I mean, there was a very, very good game. I thought that game was going to be evenly matched, and the score, I was just kind of sure it could go either way. But I mean, it was a very, very, very good game. Very good game.
The first thing that it was fun because I got to see a lot of my good friends at the Wilson Penn Manor game. But the first thing that we talked about when we got off the field and we were having a sandwich across from the field at last week, the Sugar Bowl, was Columbia beating Octorara.
Yeah.
I mean, coming back and winning that game. I mean, incredible effort, Columbia, by last week, right?
Right. I mean, again, everybody keeps talking about Footman, Robert Footman, who's doing a great job. But his skill position, his number 21, guys, I'm sorry, I don't know your names yet, but number 21, I think number 9, like very athletic. I mean, they just make play after play. They had the running back there, I think is number 8, tall, long, rangy guy. He can run the ball. So he has 5 receivers. They're constant. I was really watching how they run their offense, and they're just not willy-nilly. They have a great concept. It's hard to stop. You put defenses in bind because if you try to blitz 5 or 6, they'll just pick it apart because they'll just dump it off and those athletes can run.
Right.
So just to be able
Pick your poison, right?
Pretty much. And then they're able to make enough plays on defense to keep them in a game. So, and again, if you put the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays. And the thing is like really cool about him is that he's not looking to run all the time. So he moves in the pocket, and if it's wide open, he's going to take it. Again, if it's like a 3rd and long, and he has to run, he'll run and get that first down. But he's always looking to throw, and that makes it even more dangerous with a quarterback like that that's athletic, because as he's moving around, if his eyes are downfield, as you start to come up, he'll dump it. Now that 8-yard run turns into a 70-yard touchdown. So, yeah. I mean, I think that's what's going to – and I'm excited for that team because I would love to see, because it's been a while, because historically back in the day, Columbia's been a very good football and basketball program. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do once they get into that 2A playoff.
I'm excited as well. And, we talked about the getting off the Schneid game. Littlestown beat York Tech 35-0. Mm-hmm. We talked about the values of football or whatever like that, but that was the other game that we talked about. So it's that time, mid-program here, where we unveil, or not unveil, we don't unveil, but we take a look at the power rankings, Darryl and I, and kind of do our kind of gut feel on what's going on here.
So before we do that,
sure. That's right. I forgot about Player of the Week.
Yeah, the Player of the Week. So just to recap, so again, because of their big victory, lineman-wise, Jevin Williams, who's starting to pick up a ton of offers now, a very physical guy, a very intelligent guy, and the thing about him is he's a really good 2-sport athlete. So, he.
And who's he play for?
Why missing? So he's going to be the lineman of the week. And then as far as the player of the week, I definitely got to give a shout out to Berkeley Wagner. He plays QB and DB for Lampeter Strasburg. After taking over for Sean McTaggart, the thing is trying to create his own way, and he's been doing a good job. They lost that first game.
That whole team is just like, just like why missing. I mean, a great crop of seniors graduated. Mm-hmm. Very clear that group wants to make their mark and create their own chapter in that book, right?
Right. I mean, 5 straight wins, 192 yards passing. He had 10 tackles on defense. So I think his leadership and when I'm watching film on him, he's very comfortable in that pocket. There's that first game a little rowdy, a little bit nervous as you expect. But, I mean, he looks comfortable in that pocket. He trusts that line in front of him, which is, Coach was telling us at the beginning of the season that was the key. That O-line and D-line is going to be the key, and they've been doing a great job. So, Berkeley is the player of the week for last week, and Jevin's going to be my lineman of the week.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, we've had some tremendous guys. They're going to get their custom jerseys here from Brute. We're going to start sending them out, here this week. I mean, with anything, it's tough to get certain material like that. Yeah. So we'll get those out. But this is the point of the program where we actually take a look at all of the power rankings here, and just to see how things are shaping up. Pretty clear that Steel High is number 1, but wow, Fairfield still at 4-1. I mean, right on their heels, and really, I think that on Class 1A. And that they take 2.
Yeah, 2 teams. And go right for the district championship.
Right to the district championship. And I think the same in AA as well, that they take 2 2 teams, but maybe 4.
It's four. It's 4.
Four, correct. 2A is 4.
Yeah, so they're in the semifinal.
So Columbia, the way that they're playing, I mean, they're doing very well. But Upper Dauphin, unfortunately, they missed I think a very interesting game with Steel High.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen that just
Absolutely.
to see how all of the dots are going to connect there in 2A, but and even Trinity. I mean, that's really good too. They've been down for a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice to see them come back.
So that's going to be
sure.
key for Columbia. If they can stay on a run, because they got a couple good games coming up here. So if York Catholic and Trinity play each other, so somebody's going to knock somebody out there. So Columbia can stay on that winning streak. Upper Dauphin has 1 or 2 more tough games coming up. So Columbia's in a good position. They're going to have to. They got some good games coming up that they're going to have to win out here.
Well, why I'm missing, obviously on top in 3A. Boiling Springs, we've got all of the springs here in District 3. I think there's Boiling Springs and Big Spring and Sinking Spring.
Everything, yeah.
But, why I'm missing, really looking strong, obviously. A team that's really making a play for a district playoff berth this year is Hamburg. They, despite some injuries and what have you, they continue to play good football, don't they?
Right. Xander at quarterback, and they got the young receiver McFarland, and they're doing a great job running the ball. I mean, very good, 2 good running backs. So, and like we talked about before, the key is staying healthy, though. I know they're banged up a little bit. So, if they can stay healthy and get to that playoff run, I think they can make some noise. But as you just said, why missing definitely going to be a tough out.
Yeah. And Lancaster Catholic right now, in the fray. Schuylkill Valley in there at 2 and 4. So really interesting. They've played a pretty tough schedule. I think that's why they're in. And in 4A, we're going to be taking 10 teams there, but Berks Catholic just vaulted. That was the biggest surprise of the week.
Right.
I mean, they had a big win. But still, against a 5A opponent, I mean, Daniel Boone, but still, they vaulted into the #1 ranking, and that's pretty incredible.
Right. But the thing is, they have that tough schedule. They got those 2 5As coming up, again, which I know, again, they're another team that they're not going to be looking ahead, but, they got Exeter and Governor Mifflin coming up, but that is going to be a tough out for them.
But they got them at home.
Yeah,
I mean, they got them at home.
Right, and they've been able to beat Exeter, I think, the last, 4 years in a row or something like that. So it's going to be tough. We know that Governor Mifflin tough. So there's a lot of football left to be played. We got 4 weeks, almost 5 weeks left. So anything can happen in these 5 weeks.
Yeah, and some of the teams, right now on the outside looking in 4A, Kennerdale, Cocalico, which, obviously they've got a tough conference schedule. I mean, that's really going to be tough there. Octorara at 4 and 2. I mean, that's really of the teams that are kind of, down on the chart there, might have opportunity. But who's going to drop out? Everybody's looking good. East Pennsboro, Bishop McDevitt. I mean, how can they, with, their only loss was against a 6A LaSalle college team. I mean, they're at 5.
And that was a close game, too. Yeah.
It was 21-0, but still, I mean, it was a really good ball game. And in 5A, we're taking 14 teams, right now on the bubble. Conestoga Valley, man. I mean, those guys have really come back. They had a really tough loss week 1, but they've come back to play some good football. What do you think?
Right, and then and again, but like we're talking about, a lot of these teams, they have Wilson left, they have Hemphill, they have a tough schedule left. So it's going to be a tough task for them. But I think if they can be consistent, they can protect the ball, play good defense, anything can happen.
And look at Ephrata, currently in the mix in 5A. That's really good. I think there's some very interesting games. Cedar Cliff, I mean, always.
Always.
They're always right in there. I mean, really good program there. But some of the teams down that might have an opportunity there. It's really going to be hard for a team like Daniel Boone or even Fleetwood. Even E-Town, I mean, they're just going to have a hard time just kind of creeping up, based on their conference schedule.
And how about Twin Valley, though? It'd be nice to see those guys make it, like we talked about with Hamburg. I would love, just for that program, for those guys to finally get into the playoffs. But again, it's going to be tough, but I would love to see those guys make it.
it's a lot of the reason why I went to go see the Fleetwood Twin Valley game, because I wanted to see with my eyes, both of those programs. I mean,
absolutely.
Fleetwood's had a really tough schedule. I mean, it's no easy task to be Conrad Weiser and Wyomissing back to back, and unfortunately they lost, to both of them.
Yeah.
But I went to see it with my own eyes. It was a really hard-hitting football game. I had a lengthy conversation with the coach, before the game on the sidelines there. I always like to get there early, before they're all lathered up, and talk with them. Just an enormous amount of fun, and absolutely, we'll keep an eye on Twin Valley. And it's 6A. Wow. Central York, I mean, there's no surprise there. But CD East, I mean, we talked to Lance Dean. In his first year there, he's got him as the number 2 seed, but he's got a landmine filled schedule coming up, doesn't he? I mean,
but again, like he said, and just like the whole culture and the mindset in Harrisburg, they respect everyone, but they fear no one. So those guys, I mean, that game is going to be intense. The probably hardest part about that entire game is keeping emotions in check, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, exactly right. William Penn, I mean, they're at number 5. Wilson still, even with that win, they're at number 12. So I can understand, Joe, he said they've got a lot of teams.
Yeah, they got a lot of work.
They got a lot of work left, and they better hope that some of these other teams lose. Well, they probably will, but not a lot of them. I mean, you're looking at a smattering of all of the leagues.
Yeah.
So they're really, they're going to do some scoreboard watching, I got to believe, down the stretch.
Yeah.
So very interesting. I mean, each particular week it gets better and better when we, look at the power rankings to see exactly, how things are shaking out. And my gosh, this is week 7 already?
Week 7. And next thing you know, season to be over and they'll be in district playoffs. So
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it too that this is only our second week out here on the deck here at 551. I mean, this is a fantastic place. And I've got heaters and stuff like that. We asked them to turn down the music so
so we can hear.
So that we can hear and so that you can hear us. But just a fantastic place to come. Comes highly recommended. 551 West, the Sky Bar here. Fantastic. So, all right, let's talk about this week in District 3. The marquee matchup coming out of York Adams, Section 1, Central York, Spring Grove, 6A team versus a 5A team. What do you think, Darryl?
Well, Spring Grove over these last 3 years have been trending. So, but again, this is a win that their program needs big time in order to take that next step, because Central York right now is the king of the York Adams League, and there's hand down. There's no debating that. So, but Spring Grove, they have been trending and getting better and better every single year. So this is a game they probably had marked on their calendar all year. Same thing with the Wyomissing Southern Columbia game. They'd had a circle, so now they can finally talk about it. But we also know that Central York is going to be a tough out. They're a very good, solid football team. They're a great defensive team. They could do anything they want.
And they've got that swagger now. I mean, that swagger of playing in the title game.
Right, absolutely. And winning a district title and playing the state championship. So they know what it takes. A lot of those guys were on that team last year. So, I mean, that's going to be a very, very good game. I'd be interested to see if they're going to be able to stop the passing game of Central York.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And in the Berks League, the de facto really Section 1 title is going to be decided this week when Governor Mifflin goes into Exeter. Exeter's only losses, are to 6A opponents, Hempfield and Central York.
Right.
So, they've lost to no slouches, and they've got some great players.
Right, absolutely. And then the Central York game, they were driving down with opportunity to score. They lost that game by 7. And then the Hempfield game, I think they lost by 2 or 3. So, which again, they were in a position to score. So, they're that close. They're 2 or 3 plays away from being undefeated. So, again, that's a very, very good football team. But again, they're going against a juggernaut of Governor Mifflin. So I'll be interested to see if they'll be able to stop the run, stop the outside run, the gains, the option, the tosses. So they're physical enough to do it, but are they going to be able to be disciplined enough and consistent enough to be able to stop those guys? Because if you get him 3 or 4 times in a row, he might pop one. So you got to be ready to go.
Well, there's one thing to say, what you're going to game plan on Governor Mifflin against. It's another thing to actually do it, and it's another thing to like come up with a game plan to beat their defense. I mean, what weakness does Governor Mifflin have that you can exploit? I'm trying to think of one.
Right, and that's the thing is too, of course, we talk about offensively how explosive they are with Nick Singleton, Trey Rock, Eden Johnson at quarterback. And then you have Aiden Martin, and then you have Bray. So like you have so many different guys that can do things, but then their defense, those guys are also on defense, and they're very, very physical, and they're very fast. And like I said before, when they played Harrisburg, Governor Mifflin and PIAA District are kind of mirror teams because of how physical they are. But the thing that separates Governor Mifflin is that they have elite speed. They don't have fast guys, they have elite speed, guys that can run guys down. I mean, so they're just hard to beat, and the guys are athletic enough to make plays in the back end. So that's what makes those guys tough. So you can get going. I mean, they'll get up 35-0 on them on teams, and then you still can't move the ball on them. And if you put in their backup team, you still can't move the ball on those guys too. So it's going to be a very good game. Exeter, I think the difference is this year, they understand what they're going up against. I don't think they're going to be, not that I don't want to use the word scared, but I don't think they're worried. They're just going to go out there
and play.
That's
all they can do.
That's all you got to do is play the game.
It's
and just
beneficial
see what
there at home as well.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. So, but I mean, it is going to be a tough task, as everyone knows. But I don't think they have no fear going into the game, and we'll see what happens.
I think that the guy that people aren't talking about now for Governor Mifflin that in a few weeks will be really talking about it is Eden Johnson. I think that he's just an enormous talent, great leadership on both sides of the ball,
Absolutely.
really. I mean, he's
Great
made
job.
some incredible interceptions on defense as well.
And a good tackle in the secondary.
A battle of the Springs. I had to put that in there. That was kind of a tickler, early on. But
That's
Boiling Springs and Big Springs, both teams 5-1. A 3A against a 4A team. Sometimes in that, that means a lot for these teams. I don't think it means so much in matchup. I mean, what do you think about that one?
But it's good to see both those teams. They were down for a while, and to be back in this position. So that's going to be a good game. Both of those teams need it, especially for the race that they're in, for Boiling Springs to stay in the hunt for that top seed in 3A, and in Big Spring they got to stay in the mix because that 4A is really loaded.
Oh my God,
it's really loaded.
Incredible.
So that's going to be a very good game. Interested to see what happens there.
Another big one, Cedar Cliff at Bishop McDevitt.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I think at Battle of Titans, I think that could be the de facto, a conference championship game. What do you think?
It'd be interesting to see because Bishop McDevitt the last kind of 2 years have kind of been up and down a little bit. So
yeah, I'd like to see some better consistency.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, even though they lost 21-0 to LaSalle, that is a very good LaSalle team.
They just beat St. Joe Prep.
Yeah, they just beat St. Joe Prep. So and it wasn't a blowout. Like it was, and they moved the ball, they made plays. But that's a team that loaded with. They have an unbelievable running back. I think he has an offer to Rutgers, if not committed to Rutgers, something like that. So they played that team very tough. So Bishop McDevitt is a tested team, and they're going to be a very, very good team. So that's going to be a very good game. I'm definitely going to be watching that game.
I'll be honest with you. I've been very impressed with Cedar Cliff this year. They've just played outstanding. They just continue to reload. And, you really love programs that just, reload year after year. I mean, that's a community thing. That's a support thing, okay? You got to love that. And our buddy Mill Dog, my God, 4-1, going against Shippensburg. Tall order for the Polar Bears, but, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, talk about the community being behind. They will all be at that game. So that is going to be a tough task, beating Shippensburg at Shippensburg. So it'll be interesting to see if they can be able to stop that passing game. Shippensburg, very athletic, good running game. So that's going to be a tough task for those guys, but if they can get that win, that'll really put them in a good position for the 4A playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering it's against a 5A opponent there, I mean, enormous points. I think that they were third in the power ranking. I couldn't even imagine if Northern ended up with the top seed because really the teams in front of them, I mean, it's really up for grabs because Berks Catholic is got a really tough schedule. I think Northern's got a really shot if they could, put together some wins to be the number 1 seed in 4A. And Saturday, it's CD East at Harrisburg. Harrisburg's kind of ruled this, rivalry for a little while here, but boy, CD East with Lance Dean, what do you think?
The biggest thing is this game is going to be so hyped up if guys keep their emotions in check and they keep the penalties down and keep the turnovers down. I think this is going to be a very, very good close game. But that's going to be the hard. It's going to be a lot of talking, a lot of jarring back and forth. But again, usually in games like this, something can happen where somebody can get a penalty, get thrown out of the game, a key player. So that's the biggest thing. I'm sure he's going to be preaching that. Both Coach Cal is going to be preaching that. Lance is going to be preaching that. We got to keep our emotions in check because that is something that can lose a game like this because this is going to be a very good, tough game. I think they're evenly matched athletically. I mean, both of those teams are very good athletic, and I think the lines on both sides of the ball is going to be the factor in that game.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think that, in my mind, I think the skill positions really kind of cancel each other out.
Absolutely.
And I think that the trenches, not that the trenches don't decide every game, but I think that in this particular case, that, whoever is going to rule that line of scrimmage is going to have definitely the advantage over the opponent.
Right,
clearly.
you're definitely not going to be able to just drop back and throw the ball. I don't see because athletically, I just don't think that's going to be a possibility, just dropping back every play and throwing the ball. So who's going to be able to run the ball, establish the line of scrimmage? Because if you can run the ball and throw off the run, I think that's going to give that team the best opportunity to win the game.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, look, games like this notoriously fall into the hands of the special teams players,
Absolutely.
either in making big plays or in, issues of, the kicking game. I'm really anxious to see how the kicking game plays out for both teams.
Right.
That's where I think obviously evenly matched, and then it comes down to can they punt the ball? Are they going to be able, to get in that extra point?
Right.
And usually that's what decides it, right?
Right. I mean, a block field goal to block punt. That's a 2016 game, 2017 game, 2019 miss an extra point, and that comes back to bite you in the end of the game. So, every single thing will matter in a game like this. Yeah.
Well, and I think too that now you're getting into, between CD East and Harrisburg and Central Dauphin, it's so magnified now here at the end of the season, how losses are magnified. So, is the team that loses this game out of the playoffs? They're not out of the playoffs, but they're certainly don't have an opportunity for the number 1 seed.
Right.
Clearly, if they lose. So I think that's really what's on the line. And even for the conference, they still may end up winning the conference. But the key thing is getting that home field advantage, in the playoffs by having that number 1 seed. So, wow. I mean, we just went through week 7. Now, we haven't played the games yet, but we just did the analysis. I cannot believe, as we talk about this show all the time, how fast this season, it just seems like this one just started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think this is going to be one of the most exciting seasons because there's going to be some new teams arising. And then again, the biggest part is going to and hearing the fans and having the kids. And I think that changes everything for the game. Makes it more exciting, for sure.
Well, it certainly has made it more exciting for me. It's made it easier covering the games. That's for sure. But look, we thank everybody who tunes into this program. Tell your friends about it. We're going to try and get a little bit more active on Instagram or whatever like that, Facebook. Share it with your friends. See what they think. We really appreciate your help. I know that Darryl and I have a lot of fun with it. The premise of the show is, hey, 2 guys getting together and talking football. And we're glad that we have you along to kind of look over our shoulder and, kind of eavesdrop on the conversation every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's Fresh Set of Downs, but anytime on YouTube. So for my buddy Darryl Daniel, I'm Bruce Badgley. Hey, listen, we really appreciate you tuning in, and tell your friends about us. We'll see you next time.